Okay, we're going to jump right into 2.1 and 2.2. The good thing is from here on out we can use a calculator. So we've got some things about salaries, the average annual salary here. These were the ones that were going up, and these were the ones going down in these years from one year to the next. Well, 1901 to 2008, this is 1900 to 2009. So the data for the average annual salary can be described by a mathematical model. S equals 262N plus 12,000. And I'm going to put a comma in here just to make it easier to read. Where S is the average U.S. salary, annual salary in dollars, and N is the years after 1901. This they like to put in a lot of word problems. If the trend shown in the formula continue, when will the average salary be 50,000? Round to the nearest year. Well, they give us 50,000. We put it in for S equals 262N plus 12,000. Okay? Now, you don't know, well, some of you, because again, you're familiar with this, but some of you aren't familiar with solving two-step equations. Okay, that's what we're going to learn in this section. So you would be able to find out round to the nearest year what year it would have hit 50,000. Okay, now we'll come back to this problem. I've already filled in the blanks here. Solving an equation is the process of finding the solution or solutions, because you can have more than one, that make the equation statement true. Okay. So let's jump right in. We are only going to do the examples. We are not going to do the practice as usual because there's just not enough time, and this video would be way too long. Okay. You can read this exclamation up here if you want to, the addition property of equality. Honestly, I'm just going to teach you how to do it. Okay. First of all, these are known as one-step equations. It's going to take you to, you are going to do one thing. You're either going to add, you're going to subtract, you're going to multiply, or you're going to divide in order to get the answer. Okay, now I'm going to talk about where the equal sign, I'm just going to talk about a wall. Okay, everybody has heard what you do to one side, you do to the other. So here's what I want to do. I want to get X all by itself. I'm trying to isolate that. Right now it's got a minus 5. To take it to the other side, you do the opposite. You add 5. You're going to do the inverse. That cancels that out. Now I'm going to say I have X on the left side of the equal mark, and I'm going to have 17 on the right. Now, if you need to do your use your calculator, and this is kind of hard because I have a glare from my light, you can do this. 12 plus 5 gives us 17, okay? So you can use your calculator for everything. Right here, here's my wall. I want to isolate this Z, so it has a plus 2.8. I need to get it over here. Or I really need to get rid of it on this side. To get rid of it, I'm going to subtract it. That gives me 0. So I'm left with Z on the left side. I keep my equal sign on that, what I consider a wall, or talk about being a wall. And then you do 5.08 minus 2.8. And it gives us 2.29. Now you can check all of these answers. You can say, does 2.29 plus 2.8, add that, and you do get 5.09. Right here, 17 minus 5 gives us 12. We know our answer is right. Right here, now here's our wall. On this side, our X is on the right on this problem. Right now, it has a minus 3/4 with it. So we need to take it to the other side by adding 3/4, because that's the opposite. Now the nice thing is you can let your calculator do the work for you. Okay, that gives us 0. It cancels each other out. We have x equals. Now, if you have the newer calculator, well, let me see, get it so that you can see this. Here we go. Okay, if you have the newer calculators that have the fraction key, you're going to hit your alpha button, and then you're going to hit your y equals button. When you do that, this is your fraction, this is your mixed numeral. This says fraction to mixed numeral to fraction, and then fraction to decimal. So we're going to hit 1. Now you're going to, oops, you know what I forgot to do? Put my minus sign. So I need to put, I'm sorry, my negative sign. That's a negative. So you always hit your negative first. You don't start with subtraction. So that's how I know it's a negative. 1/2. I've got to use my right arrow key. I'm going to hit plus to get 3/4 in there. I'm going to hit my alpha key. Y equals 1, 3/4. And I'm going to hit enter. The rule of thumb is if it's a fraction problem, we want a fraction answer. So we get 1/4. You can check this answer as well. You can say, does 1/4 minus 3/4, oops, that didn't go over well. Let's clear that. Let's take 1/4 minus, takes my answer, alpha y equals 1. Let's put 3/4 and hit enter. It should give us a negative 1/2, which it does. Now, if you have an older calculator, because I don't like, I've talked about it, I don't know about in your all's class because we haven't used a calculator. I'm so used to not having a fraction key. I just do it like this. When I'm doing this, I like my fractions to be in parentheses so you can kind of see it, but you don't have to. You can just put -1, put it in, I'm going to start it with parentheses, -1/2 plus 3 divided by 4. Now, if I hit enter, it doesn't know where we want fractions. It's going to give me a decimal, but that's okay. Hit math, change it to a fraction. Hit 1 and hit enter, and it gives us 1/4. Now, I could have, at this point, hit math, 1 fraction, and it gives me 1/4. Now, you don't have to have it in parentheses. You could say -1 divided by 2 plus 3 divided by 4. Math fraction, and it still gives me 1/4. Okay, those are my adding and subtracting problems. Oh, we still have this. Okay, example 2. Here's our wall. What we want to do before we start moving things is get things by itself. Okay, so on this left-hand side, we can combine the 8y and the -7y. Add the opposite if you have to. Either way, that's going to give us 1y or just y. 7 minus 10 gives me a -3 equals, and on this side, we can combine those to get 10. Now, I need to isolate my y. I need to solve for y. I need to get this 3 over here. We're going to do that by dividing by 3. Because what we're really trying to do is get rid of this. So we have to add 3 to get rid of a -3. What you do to one side, you do to the other. So y equals 13. You can check your answer. You can say 8 times 13, wherever you see a y, you're going to put a 13, plus 7 minus 7 times 13 minus 10, and you better get 10 or it's wrong. Okay, this side gave us 10. If we do 6 plus 4, the left equaled the right. Okay, I think that finishes up your adding and subtracting. Nope, it's still, never mind. We're still thinking we're going on to multiplication and division. but we aren't. Okay. The problem here is we've got to get our variables on one side. We have a 3x here and we have a 2x here. Now, all instructors will teach this differently, but I am going to teach it so that we take our letters to the left-hand side. I need to get rid of this, okay? So to get rid of it, I'm going to subtract 2x. If I do that to one side, I do it to the other. Now, that gives me 0. So what I'm really doing is taking this over here. Now, because it's no longer there, I'm going to keep my equal sign along that wall. On this side, I have an x minus 6. Over here, I have 5. Well, I need to get this x by itself. I need to get rid of a minus 6, so I'm going to add 6. If I add 6 there, I've got to add 6 here. Really what I'm doing is taking it over here. Now, I end up with x equals 11. I can check my answer. I can say 3 times 11 minus 6. Hopefully it will give me the same thing that 2 times 11 plus 5 gives me. Well, I can check it on my calculator, but I don't really have to. This is going to give me 33 minus 6 on the left side, which gives me 27. Over here, this gives me 22 plus 5 equals 27 over there. So the left equaled the right, so I know that answer is right. Okay, now we're going to multiplication. Okay, so what we're going to do is, this is saying negative 11 times some number equals 44. Okay, way back in elementary school, it really would, if we had something like this, 2y equals 8, in elementary school, it would have been 2, and you would have had this box equals 8. Well, now that we're older, we use variables. So you would get 4 here. How did we do that? We divided this by 2. Same thing here. We need to undo multiplication. Just like to undo subtraction, we add. To undo addition, we subtract. To undo multiplication, we divide. So if we divide this by negative 11, we have to divide this by negative 11. This side gives us a positive 1y, or just y. Over here, this gives me a negative 4. Does negative 11 times negative 4 give us a positive 44? And yes, it will. Okay, so right here, I'm going to divide both sides by 5. That cancels to give me z. Now notice I worked with the number next to the letter. That's the one I'm going to divide by, because I could need to undo the 5 times z, so I'm going to do that by dividing it. Now, you don't have to do this by hand anymore. Okay? You are going to say negative 15.5 divided by 5. Now, I forgot, or you haven't used calculators much in our, we're going to have it yet at all. This is your negative. This is subtraction. It's add, subtract, multiply, and divide. So this is your subtraction button. This is your negative. So you're going to do negative 15.5 divided by 5, and it gives us a negative 3.1. We started as a decimal, so we don't want a fractional answer here. It's okay, but and I don't know why now I'm going to circle these, but I'll do them all. Fractions are a little different. Okay, now there's 2 ways to do this. This still is multiplication, so you can solve this by dividing by 2/3. Okay, and when you do this on your calculator, that cancels to give you 1y. You have to be very careful when doing this on your calculator. If you don't have the fraction key, if you have the older calculators, you have to put that in parentheses. So if you have the fraction key, you're not going to worry about it. You're going to say 16 divided by, alpha F1, 1, and you're going to put 2/3. Sorry, I keep forgetting what I'm doing. Well, that's how I did it. That still doesn't even, anyway, and you get 24. You also could have done it like this. Put 16 up here, then get alpha F1, 1, and then do 2/3 on the bottom. Okay, and you still get 24. I don't do it that way. Actually, I don't even do it this way, but at this point, I'm going to say 16 divided by beginning parentheses, 2 divided by 3. I'm also going to hit math fraction just in case it gave me a fractional answer. It doesn't. It gives me a whole number of 24. Now, I'm going to go ahead and start this now because you are going to learn it later. But how I take care of fractions is if you multiply by its reciprocal. We learned that in chapter 1. If you multiply by the reciprocal, this gives me 6/6. So I end up with a 1y. 3's cancel, 2's cancel, and I end up with 1y, or 6/6y. If I do that to this side, I have to do it to this side. And this is going to give me 48/2, which equals 24. Okay, or 2 goes into 16 8 times. 8 times 3 gives us 24. Or you can use your calculator. 16 times beginning parentheses 3 divided by 2. And you get 24. Right here, the problem with this is our x isn't positive, it's negative. Well, there's really a -1 in front of it. So to get it to be a positive 1, we are going to divide both sides by a -1. Now you can do that on your calculator, but I don't need to because I know my integer rules, and I'm going to get a +3. And again, you can check these answers. You can say 2/3 times 24, it should give you 16, and it does. Okay, right here, now we're using addition and multiplication properties, okay? Here's what you're going to do. You're going to go backwards from your order of operations. You're going to do your add and subtract first. So I want to isolate this 4 times x. I want to get it by itself. So I need to get this 3 over on that side. I want to get rid of it here, so I'm going to subtract it. That gives us 0. We have 4x equals 24. Now, 4 times x, division will undo multiplication. So, divide both sides by 4, and 24 divided by 4 gives me 6. I can check this answer. If I checked it, I would say 4 times 6 plus 3. Hopefully it gives me 27. Order of operations, I multiply, I get 24 plus 3. And that does, the left gave me 27, so does the right. So it checked, I know that answer is right. Right here, I want to get this by itself. Here's that wall. I'm going to get rid of this minus 15 by adding 15. Adding and subtracting undo each other. That means I'm taking that over there. I'm left with negative 4y on this side. Over here I have 40. This is multiplication. Division will undo multiplication. So I want to divide by negative 4 so that I end up with a positive 1y, or just a y. 40 divided by 4 gives me 10. 1 negative, 1 is odd, so my answer is negative 10. Again, negative 4 times negative 10 minus 15. If it is right, it gives me 25. This gives me 40 minus 15 40 minus 15 gives me 25. So it checked out. Now you could do 40 plus a negative 15, same thing. It still gives me 25. Now, this one right here, we have x's on both sides and we have numbers on both sides. We need to get our letters to one side, our constants to the other. I'm always going to teach you to move this over here, because then it looks like a two-step equation like it does here, and we're used to using that. And we know positive and negative, so I'm not going to stay away from negative numbers. That's why some teachers, it doesn't have to be worked like this. All right, I need to get rid of this here. So the opposite of a negative 4x would be a positive 4x. Or a minus 4x is a plus 4x. That cancels each other out. Over here, I have 6x minus 15 equals 21. Now, it looks like a regular two-step equation. I've got to isolate that. I have to get this 15 minus 15, rid of it. Let's try to talk right. I need to get rid of the minus 15 by adding 15. It's late. This gives me 0, so I just have a 6x there, equals 36. Divide by 6, and I get x equals 6. Again, if I check my answer, I am going to say 2 times 6 minus 15 on the left side. On the right side, I have negative 4 times 6. See if I can squeeze that in there, plus 21. Pretend like you can read that. That's a 21 right there. This gives me 12 minus 15 on the left side. That gives me negative 3. Okay, over here I have negative 24 plus 21. Signs are different. Subtracting, get 3. Take sign of larger number and it gets a negative 3. So it checked out. And that's it.